Hello and welcome to PPS. Thank you for joining us once more and welcome to Panasonic Day. Yes, Panasonic Day, hence the highlighted notes in my hand, such as the many different announcements that I have about Panasonic today for you. And most important of those, or one of them, is the announcement of the GH5 Mark II. And let's see that on a bigger camera for you just there. The brighter amongst you will say, but Jim, that looks very similar to a GH5 Mark I. And you're right, the body is the same, but there have been many changes inside it. And there's also the announcement today of the GH6, which is coming by the end of the year, which will be a higher end, sort of top range micro four thirds camera. It's exciting because it means Panasonic are not giving up on the micro four thirds system and that sensor size. They've got the full frame range, the S range, but the fact is micro four thirds is where they kind of started, mirrorless, and they haven't given up on it. They're staying with it. And there are advantages to this system. The lenses are smaller, it's lighter, it's more portable, but a lot of the tech and the UI, like off the S1H, has found its way back into these cameras, back down to the GH5 Mark II, for instance. So we've had the announcement of the GH6. And what do we know? Well, we don't know much. We know it's coming. We know it'll be more money than this camera. We know it has a 5.7K sensor, which is good because it'll be oversample 4K. We know it can do 4K 120, 10-bit. We know that. And we know it's got a new processor and a new engine and a brand new sensor. So we don't know any more than that. But the fact they've said that's coming, it's coming then, it kind of gives you confidence. They've also got some new lenses coming. We've got a new 1.7, I think it's a 25 to 50, which actually mirrors the 10 to 25, which is already out. That'll be a very, very high quality zoom. And again, confidence in the system, good glass coming, big camera at the top. But this is the camera today that's been kind of announced, was the GH5 Mark II. And yes, it's got the same body, but there are some key changes. First and foremost, power. It uses the same batteries as the S5, which have a 20% uplift in power. And it's got USB-C powering into the body, so you can power it via a little V-lock brick, which is very useful. It's got an improved LCD, which is less reflective, I think, and has a better operating system, as I said, from the S series, like the red box for recording and sort of improvements on the UI there. The EVF is the same, and most of the internal recording elements are the same in terms of bit depth and rate for 4K 10-bit, 422, all the usual GH5 goodness. They have made the sensor somehow less reflective with a coating, so that you should get about half a stop more detail in the highlights. Perhaps this is similar to what happened with the BGH1, which was slightly superior to the GH5S. So you've got that as well. But the headline on this camera is actually streaming with something as tiny as this. So you could take your phone and you could take this and you could go into a field, maybe like Worthy Farm. They've had a few streaming issues recently. And you could stream your event or whatever you're doing via your phone, straight out to Facebook, straight out to YouTube without a computer. Now that is quite a compelling thing in the times that we live in and the things that we're being asked to do, to have streaming in a camera so small. And there are more details here, which I shall read because I can't remember them. They're too detailed for me to actually remember. We're going to get RTP, RTSP wide IP streaming as well with an upgrade, all right? This will obviously use the Lumix app with your smartphone, but it can tie also to a laptop if you've got a Wi-Fi and a router that way. It can also record out of the HDMI a high quality source. So if you're streaming, you can't record internally because it's doing the streaming, but you can record out of the HDMI to a Ninja V or something like that, a 4K 10-bit high quality source, so you don't lose out on that master copy, which is very, very important. IS, image stabilization for this camera, it goes from 5.5 to 6.5, which is actually really useful with a wideish lens. I'm not saying you don't need a gimbal, but we're moving in that direction where the times that you actually need a gimbal get less and less, because 6.5 stabilization is very good, and Panasonic is well known for having great stabilization in their cameras. What else am I missing? Improved screen. There is a free, well, not free, but there's a pre-launch offer of a 25mm 1.7 and a free battery with the body if you get it in the sort of launch time. And the body itself is going to be $1499, and that is for the GH5 MKII. Now, not to complete my little speech to you, there are also some software updates. I shall move to page 29. For the GH5S, the G9 and the G11, primarily headline, we are talking Apple ProRes RAW coming with the GH5S. We're talking on a Ninja V, 4K anamorphic 4.3, 3.7, 12-bit RAW via the HDMI on that camera. I also noticed in the sort of blurb as I skimmed it through that on the Panasonic customer support website, you're going to now be able to download a specific LUT for Panasonic cameras that are doing RAW recording. That's quite interesting, because if you had multiple cameras all recording ProRes RAW, you can now get a LUT off Panasonic, and I believe that will then match them all up and give you a very good starting point. So that's now available there. And then on the G9, I believe we're getting some improvements too. We are getting, what are we getting? We're getting improved AF performance as per the S5. So that's trickling down as well. Human animal recognition, which I'm sure is very important for all of you. And again, more UI stuff coming from the S1H and the S series, like red recording, frame indicator. You can do vertical video, that kind of stuff, frame markers, power save mode, stuff like that. So, firmware, lenses, bodies. Today truly is the day of Panasonic announcements. It's exciting and it's good to see. And personally, I like cameras that are small. I like this sensor size. It's extremely useful for filmmaking, and I'm very pleased to see that Panasonic haven't given up on it and are going to do full frame and micro four thirds running together all the way through.